Good evening. So first with a prayer. Nazenam Darajinu Bay, Traji Chujinu. Sangi Chudangi no Papezo, Gunajaze, Daja. Trashisho, the major president, Chibaji. Gunongo Majano Majan, Mother Mazarabana, Simjit. Ism the Batter double days and some debate. They were by Gala Chazaro, Jimbejano. Cherizon Gumajimape, saying, Numgenu Wapajo Gunazan, Ubetajibe. No Buddha were in your mind, Chazanam. Change us by Gala Chazalo, and Jinda Judas. The job was a young Gamana, you know, when you use a one Jerocolo day, and you know. Should you watch a jingle jama, is on water. Trash it, Hamu Gala Chazalo, some Basham. McDonald and Yarbu goes home by Yobodano. Num this is a lazo go down to show. Be ordered to dang it in this as soon as she didn't go on Gala Chazano, Dajet in their shop. Getting your words so Kunjini to the baby. Some division to Trashi television super shoot Dajet in this. La Getting your words about Kunjini to the baby someday. Asian troop Trashi television super show Dajet in this. La Getting your words about Kunjini to the baby someday. Trashi television so parashu. Padensevela Marimboche, Dagajo. Gordon Chimbegun Kusun Tugin. Padensevela Marimboche, Dagajo. Gordon Chimbegun is Kusun Tugin. Padensevela Marimboche, Dagajo. Gordon Chimbegun is Kusun Tugin would Saldo Su. Thank you. Today was a long day. We have been doing this morning all the statue consecration ceremony. So a long day, and Bobby has been really busy there for the last 2 days, really. You must be, are you in a twilight zone? Yeah. So, first of all, so happy seeing you all. Thank you. So it's really wonderful. And I think we need to keep in mind that whether we call it Mahayana practice or not, most important thing in life is a good heart. There's the principle of Buddha Dharma, principle of teaching, a good heart, fundamentally, all the time. My teacher, Hisuna Dujum Rinpoche, used to say, we need 3 kinds of mind. One is good heart, and an honest heart, and a stable mind. Stability in good heart, not like sometimes there is, sometimes isn't. So it requires for us to continuity of that. Always keep in mind. And why we need to keep in mind the good heart and the good mind, and the stable mind, because that's the very source of our happiness, comes from that mind. No other mind, not the mind of ego, obviously not the mind of any afflictive emotion, obviously not, but what can bring us happiness directly right now, and in the middle stage, and in the long stage. Present, when you do anything in life, you project the short-term goal, the medium-term goal, and the long-term goal. And that's what we need in the map of our spiritual practice. Someone, this time in Grand Junction when I was there, he was telling me, Rinpoche, what is the I know how to make a business plan. I need a spiritual business plan, so how I can project for the short term, the medium term, and the long term goal. And that, obviously, without the good heart, to put in a simple word, there is no short-term goal. There is no achievement for us without a good heart. Neither there is any medium-term goal for us without a good heart. Obviously, no need to say on the long term, we need that, crucially. Therefore, in the Mahayana teaching, the entire personal, one-person progress is based on that two bodhicitta, the relative bodhicitta and absolute bodhicitta, the conventional reality and absolute reality. That is the very nature of our mind. The reason why we need to practice conventional compassion and absolute compassion, it is in that mind where we will discover our freedom, our liberation, and our happiness. No other mind can do that. Therefore, it is called the bodhicitta mind, the precious mind, not just any kind of mind, the most precious mind. So the more you reflect on that mind, the more it becomes clearer that that is our spiritual plan, whether it's short-term or medium terms or long-term. So you need to reflect more, you need to reflect more. Really think that why Buddhism trusts so much about bodhicitta mind. There got to be a reason. 84 Mahasiddhas came. All the great teachers in India came, Buddhist master. So many great masters came in Tibet. And many great masters will come into the West because you are, you will carry on the Dharma and you will pass the message of good heart to your future generations. And the more you reflect that the very source of our happiness is really the bodhicitta mind. And what is our enemy then? The enemy, Arahat, like in Sanskrit is called Arahat. Drachompa, Tibetan Buddhist, Drachompa, vanquishing or destroying enemy. That enemy is truly our ego and all the emotions the ego produces, which is afflictive emotion, that is our enemy. There is no enemy than that, beside than that. Once we recognize that, and once we realize that what the ego has done to us, what the affliction emotion has done to us, actually, if you really think it very carefully, you wouldn't even be able to, it's such a serious situation that you wouldn't even allow to just even stay like any moment, that rather you will use every moment, what is the best thing for you. Therefore, like for example in the meditation teaching, it talks about the Buddha of nowness, the present awareness. How so important to discover present awareness. We need to discover the nowness. And discovering nowness, the entire Buddhist teaching finally talks about this nowness so much. And as you know, in the Zen meditation also, Japanese Zen meditation, they also emphasize nowness so much. And obviously, same thing in Tibetan Buddhist tradition. The nowness is truly the nature of the Buddha, awakened mind. I stress about that also very much. Sorry, it's just like cold. If I put on the coat, it's warm. If I take off the coat, it's cold. That's samsara. So for first of all, before we could become natural with our awareness, with the nowness, we need to discover that through the discipline of meditation, and that is stillness. The mind has two aspects. One is the movement aspect and one is the stillness aspect. First, you have to have ground stability in the stillness aspect. Therefore, though there may not particularly, not much of like, when you do meditation, sometimes it can be just very boredom. Sometimes it may be not necessarily that people may expect some kind of like lights shining or, some deities you're seeing, or you're able to, fly or see things, what other people are thinking. It may not necessarily be that. It could be just very boredom, sometimes for days. Just like you may think, what am I doing? Maybe it's better to go to a movie. At least it's more entertaining than just sitting there. But then again, that what you are trying to discover in meditation is really your awareness. It's your awareness. Right now, we don't have a grasp to awareness. Mind is always like a pendulum, swinging with this either attached to that emotion or swinging to that emotion, always. Not for a moment you can be in your stillness, at the nowness. Always swinging, always too many thoughts. Or like, either you like are unconscious, dead, sort of, we go to sleep, then we have no idea what's going on. Then the moment we open our eyes, the mind started busy. When do we find like the mind relax, being in a nowness? Clear? You see, nowness doesn't mean there is no thoughts. Every thought has nowness, in fact. For a really advanced meditator, it doesn't make any difference whether you have thoughts or no thoughts. It's equally the same. Because every thought says nature is emptiness. So every thought's nature is emptiness. There is nowness in every state, in fact. So therefore, when you do meditation, what is leading you to, step by step, is to have a grasp of your mind where you can express or dance. At the same time, you're always in the present awareness. Like you're at your home, so to speak. Usually you're not in your home. You're either here, either there. You're never at home. You never feel like, this is my ground nature. Therefore it's called ground, path, and fruition. There are three stages, minus. Ground, path, and fruition. So ground is what is known as the nature of emptiness, which is the very basic nature of all being. Then the path is trying to discover that. In fact, actually, what is trying to discover nothing new, but which you already have. You see, you already have that nature. You're trying to discover that. So it says in the Heart Sutra that the wisdom nature has neither decreased nor increased. It doesn't mean that right now it is decreased, and then the day when you discover your basic goodness, your enlightened nature, then it has increased. If it's fluctuation, then it's not unconditioned nature. It is that nature of nowness is the basic reality which has always been that way. So what we are trying to do now, we are not making up emptiness. Nobody can make emptiness. Even you try to think emptiness, that is not emptiness, in fact. It is fabrication. So in the calling the Lama far away, in the teaching of his son, Chhoje Rinpoche's Ngunru, there's a calling of the Lama far away. In that it says, This meditation produced by mental analysis is a deceiving enemy. Because when you grasp to any kind of view in the Dharma, you discover that it is not view. The view is beyond all extreme. If you try to make this way, you attach to that. If you try to make this way, you attach to that. You're not at home. You see, there's existence in your nature. And that existence is called ground, in fact. A basic existence. Basic goodness means an existence in itself that doesn't really require a reconfirmation whether it does exist or not. Only the ego requires a reconfirmation, constantly trying to reaffirm that it exists or exists. So always we are trying to see, oh, in relationship to that person, I feel good. So therefore, I exist good. Relationship to that person doesn't make me feel good. So I don't want to relate with that. That is not, you are not relating to your home nature, your ground nature. It's not. You're constantly relating with the emotional nature, which is a conditional nature. Think about it. There got to be a nature in you which doesn't really have to be always clinging to something to make something. There's a basic reality. That basic reality is called Buddha nature that exists in all being. And that requires, first of all, in order to become one with that, it requires, first of all, stillness of shamatha meditation, calm abiding mind. Without calm abiding mind, you won't able to just become synchronized in one with the movement of mind and the stillness of mind. Because before you are able to, it's like a bird. First the bird is born out of an egg, and then eggs open. Then the mother feeds the bird. Then the wings begin to grow. Finally, the wing is fully grown, and the bird can flap its wings. It can fly. Same thing. First, the discipline of meditation kind of builds the stillness. So therefore, it can be boredom, or it can be clarity, or it can be blissful. Not necessarily boredom. It can be clarity. It can be boredom too. Boredom is one experience, not necessarily that everyone will go through, but there is a boredom. So how do you deal with that boredom also? If you say, oh, it's just boredom, I'm not going to do it, then you will never really get a hold of your mind. So you need to go through that experience, and doesn't matter, you just sit. It's like eating a food, whether you enjoy it or whether you don't enjoy it, it keeps a certain health that you will live. Or instead of saying, I don't like food, now I'm not going to eat. Then if you go on hunger strike for 2 months, you will be dead for sure, just because I don't want to eat. But if you eat, even the food is not delicious. Not all the time you may like that food. You just have to eat it for your sake of health. Then there is some level of, continuity as far as the health will be preserved. Same thing with meditation. Someday it can be just nothing, or you still sit. Someday it can be very clear. And then when that happens, just sit, don't take credit. That's what it says. Even it's like fantastic experience, like incredible experience, don't take credit. Just sit. If it's kind of boredom, don't worry about it, just sit. So when you keep doing that, what happens, like the example, that way you clear the water on the beach is not stirring, but leaving as it is. So at some point, when you keep leaving the mind natural, now that will be more clear when the Dzogchen teaching soon, Rinpoche is coming, Dzogchen Rinpoche, and Rinpoche will be giving 2 days of Dzogchen teaching, directly introducing the nature of the mind. So it will explain more inside. But basically, it's from shamatha meditation, you're learning to discover what's the basic nature of your mind. And at some point, your mind is like a mirror. At some point, the mirror becomes so clear, no stains of ego, no afflictive emotion, then itself is so clear fundamentally. That's how you discover that, wisdom aspect and the expression part, movement part, which that movement contains all the time, inseparable, indivisible, that emptiness in that movement of thought. So it's very deep. You have to sit a lot. That's why even as I give these earlier, I mentioned about Milarepa telling a student, how important he is to sit. That was his last teaching advice to his student Gampopa, that he has to sit a lot. Only then one can realize that without sitting, the mind is, even you have your nature is with the nature, enlightened nature, but due to so many lifetimes of habit, it's like, very thick and hard to penetrate through. So therefore, sitting practice of meditation, and in post-meditation, that continuously bringing good heart, but not taking credit again. Because what happens, you get free. The point of not taking credit is you become free. If you try to take credit, you are stuck there. I think it's like, let's suppose in an actor, those who go to acting school, before they become famous, they can be very creative. And since they don't have fame before they have a big name, so they are much more open. They don't expect, some fame. But once they have become famous, then everyone feeds their ego. Then at some point, if someone doesn't feed their ego, get very disturbed and lose the balance and get very neurotic. Likewise, when it's stuck, when it's blocked. You see, bodhicitta is always very creative. There is no bodhicitta which is kind of like passive, because it's full of engagement all the time. It's active because it's a fundamental nature, and it's stable because the stillness of emptiness is always in that. These two are indivisible, relative and absolute. So I think, I would recommend you read more bodhicitta teaching, more Dharma texts, reflect more, and those are really, really very important. So you make your life, you make this life really worthwhile. Because sitting is very deep. Sitting sounds very simple, but it's really, really very deep. Sometimes, in America, people think, oh, I need to study this, I need to study that, I need to study that book. And of course it's very important. Even in the Dharma it says, study Bodhichara Avatar's teaching, study words of a perfect teacher, study this, study that. But there is also a path where the entire path, from the Hinayana to Mahayana to Dzogchen, can be understood just simply by sitting meditation, which is called the lineage of practice. If not, why would the ancient master would say for a meditator, don't read any books, for example? Some very serious meditator who does like 10 hours of meditation a day, they are told not to have any ideas to their meditation. Direct experience of their own mind. Because your mind contains, when we talk about the Hinayana and Mahayana, all the stages are basically in our mind. It's not outside of us. There have been, like, if you read the story of Pang Mipam Gompo. Pang Mipam Gompo is an old man. When he was a young man, he was a hunter. And he killed a lot of animals. And later, when he got old, then all his children, disrespected him. Nobody cared for him. And he felt so lonely and so sad. And then he met Berotsana. He has so much devotion to Berotsana. And then when he met Berotsana, Berotsana taught him a meditation technique, who have never done any Dharma practice before. An old man whose past record is just like hunting. And I don't think he'd have, besides from saying some money mantras, I don't think he had any training. So, and that teaching also, it wasn't the one Berotsana taught him, at this point I don't remember, but it was something in relationship to his mind, few words, and he was just told to meditate. He just meditated on the teaching of what Berotsana gave him, and he achieved rainbow body. And not only after that, he has his own student, few generations of him, his student, they all achieved rainbow body, the highest level of realization. So you see, people should, when I give the class of meditation, your mind will discover, if you just follow the meditation technique, your mind will gradually discover all those jhanas naturally, in fact. Because, you see, if you think that Dharma is just some particular traditional words or vocabulary or some ceremony, that's external. I mean, there's a conventional Dharma. Yes, there is, like, for example, there's rituals involved, some of them. Then there is this training, this tradition, that tradition. But the real tradition, fundamentally, is your mind. When you discover something in your meditation, you learn so many things. Even you have not read the text, later when you read the text, oh, this I went through, I know this. It's like, I don't know whether it's a good example, those who've taken LSD, they came to Dharma. Oh, I went through that experience of the bardo, like the consciousness getting out of the mind and entering into someone's womb, and the whole thing. So it's interesting. So the point is, but just by simply sitting meditation, you will discover very, very deep. The question is how much dedication you will have to do that. I think 15 minutes a day is not enough. Half an hour is also not enough. It cannot counteract your 23 hours. Even you do for 1 hour, 23 hours if you allow your mind to be mindless, getting out of your true nature, then how can you really have a grasp to your mind? Unless time to time, you need to do, watch your minds, like a shock therapy. That's how the meditation, it says, there is a shock therapy, sort of, like you have some understanding of your mind, then suddenly you feel like outrage, angry. At that moment, instantly you look to the nature of the anger. Or in the middle of desire, you look at the nature of the desire. Then there can be some very profound experience at that time, how you can liberate those emotions. So you need to do that. Sometimes keep the mindfulness that when those powerful, strong emotions arises, how to just like instantly, looking at it directly. That's the way to do Dharma, in many different ways. Otherwise, if you just allow it, just you do 15 minutes, and of course it will have an effect, but then it will take a long time. I think at the end of the day, probably after 1 billion years, I think everyone will be enlightened, But if you want to do it faster, you need to do a little bit more attentively if you don't want to stay in 1 billion years. Because I think at the end there is end to every being, because Buddha nature, fundamentally, which is in us, it will just, if you really look into your own life, what you may be in your past life, you may not remember, but at this point you are really in a good place, that you are able to understand that kindness and compassion are really very, very important. Not only that, furthermore discovering the nature of mind, the emptiness, how to come to this place finally, the asking question to yourself, I think it's quite amazing. I think it's really amazing that where we have reached to the point, and of course not all beings have reached to the point, but each one is different. Lacking, just having a sense of heart, like when you hear beings suffering, there's a natural sense of compassion, love. That's really very special. If you look at 2 days ago, what happened in Pakistan, all those children killed, and these people are rejoicing. Like they think, no sense of feeling for others, pain and suffering. At least we feel something. Oh, that is not a good thing to do. That's a terrible thing to do. That itself is quite amazing, to reach your consciousness in that level. It's really very special, because not everyone feels that way. Now, once you have reached a level like that, sense of compassion, that deep, then the next stage is, that without wisdom, you cannot again go that far. Emotional compassion is karma, and karma can be not very stable, Therefore, good people sometimes become bad people, because karma changes. You cannot rely totally on emotional stage. If compassion alone can liberate beings, then the world will be much better place, because even jackals and lions and hyenas also have a level of compassion. And that is a good starting. But to reach a really deep sense of compassion to all beings, for example, if you look at the Mahayana teaching of Buddhism, it says, may all beings be happy and be free of suffering. They never says that only the Buddhists be happy and Buddhists be free of suffering. No, all beings are same. All beings are just like oneself, no difference. Same mind, same emotion, same aspiration, same wanting to be free, exactly the same, not a single difference. Therefore, when we come to the point that truly like myself want happiness, others is same, we have a fundamental feeling. There's an understanding, there's a very deep understanding. It's a really amazing mind that you have it. To respect others, to have feeling for others, to have care for others. That is an extraordinary mind. I don't think everyone has that, though everyone has the nature of that mind, but not everyone came to that point. Furthermore, we know the human world, that we are in this world for a very short time, temporary time. We're not here for a long time, and we want to make the best use within this short time. And that's another quite awakening and set our goals to achieve something really in this lifetime. And the way I see where the world is going, perhaps, things can change. Today they're saying that, now what happened after all those children being killed in Pakistan, then there may be awareness that now any kinds of act of aggression is not good. Maybe those people who harbor such ideas will not be supported by the government or any agencies or Pakistan. And they're saying there is no good Taliban or bad Taliban. Anyone who is out there to kill someone is basically not really kind. So, and the way the world is progressing and the way our liberty is being gradually waning, it is waning. Not that government is literally trying to take our liberty, but there is so much distrust now. If you go in a plane, you have to take off your shoes and all this thing. There's no choice. Government has to do it. Otherwise, it's very likely the plane could be blown out by some terrorists. So what that tells us, our situation is getting bad, that there is less time, more time being paranoid, and less time, and everything is difficult to do Dharma practice at some point. That means support of oneself, support of the family, support of society is not going to be much in the long term in the future. So that's another reason why we should do Dharma when we're still healthy. Still there is some level of stability in this crazy world today. As much as I think, if you think about the amount of nuclear weapons and chemical weapons and all those crazy things which can end humanity, it's quite a miracle that we're still surviving with so many weapons all over the world. And someday it's not going to remain the same. There will be a time when all the people's good karma is exhausted, and then suddenly some crazy person come and do some crazy thing. That chances is there. It's not that impossible, but chances is there. And everyone is trying to prevent that. So far we've prevented that, but then it depends how long it will go. So why we should spend our whole life based on our ego, aggression, greed, all this thing, which even you get fame and power and wealth, when you die, you got to leave everything. There's nothing you can take. You got to just leave, even this very body you love so much, you got to leave it and you got to go alone. So why do so many bad karmas which doesn't serve us any good at all, either in the short term or in the medium term or in the long term? One has to really think deeply what is the best thing for oneself, whether emotionally how to carry on, and then furthermore look deeper to get the seed of the victorious one, which is the victory from all ego and all ignorance and all inflictive emotion, realization of emptiness. That is the most important thing in life. Nothing is compared to that. Nothing you can exchange for that. Of course, one's life is important. You have to do business. You have to do things. Everyone's career. But that's secondary. But you can do it with you can do it ethically. It doesn't mean that you have to do unethically your living. You have to do it ethically, that even as a business, you think of the other, you think of yourself. Not just yourself alone, but others also. Their well-being, their caring. So, you see, good heart is, my point, what I'm trying to say is you need to carry a good heart, and then meditation. We need these two together. Then how you will achieve the primordial awareness, the Buddha nature, realization of Buddha nature. Otherwise it's not possible without merit. You need lots of merit, good heart, forgiveness. Much as possible you can do, bring good heart in practice. Tremendous merit you gain. Tremendous strength is built. Not only this lifetime, future lifetimes, wherever you are born, you will be in a good place until enlightenment. You see, some people may gain enlightenment in this lifetime, but not necessarily everyone will gain enlightenment in this lifetime. Some may get those who are Dharma practitioner, serious Dharma practitioner, 1 lifetime, 2 lifetime, 3 lifetime. In fact, it says in the Vajrayana tradition, someone who follows the Vajrayana tradition, 7 lifetimes or 3 lifetimes one gain enlightenment. If it's very strong, in 1 lifetime gain enlightenment. So you transcend from the samsara. But all that requires bodhicitta. All that requires lots of transformation within oneself. Discipline, mindfulness, being honest, being compassionate, and being stable. Carry on that. That's the mind. Otherwise it's not possible. That level of realization with ego, with distraction, sometimes you do meditation, sometimes you don't, sometimes you be a kind person, sometimes you don't, mostly like more bad karma, less of a good karma. I think it'll be very hard to achieve even a better human rebirth. Let's not talk about enlightenment. Enlightenment requires all the merit you can gain. There's a result of that. Even a higher rebirth requires a lot of good heart. A better living, better environment of living, or good feeling, affection to come from others requires good heart. So, we need to think about that. We need to reflect and we need to study more, because I know there's a lot more for us to grow, a lot more for us to study. I myself have a lot more way to go. And obviously, I think you can also have a long, long way to go. So that's how I see the life. So I'm basically trying to, I'm telling you what I'm telling myself. Really, I'm sharing my views, what I need to do myself. And the more, every year, the more, I think the only development I see in my own personal practice is how important that bodhicitta mind is. I'm seeing that, really there is no mind can lead you out of samsara beside those 2 minds. I'm 100%, I have conviction on that at this point. I have no doubt about that. I think that is the blessing of the Dharma, that truly I see that is what we need, the conviction on compassion on those 2 bodhicitta mind. Therefore, when Chhoje Rinpoche come, I requested him to give on the full moon, I think it's January 5th, to give a bodhisattva vow. January 5th? 4th, January 4th, Sunday. Bodhisattva vow, the vow of compassion that we can hold on to. The most precious thing we have, that requires the relative and absolute bodhicitta mind. Absolute bodhicitta mind is going to give the Dzogchen teaching, the ultimate teaching. Then the relatively, then the bodhisattva vow, so that we can all, be more tolerant, more compassion. That's where we're going to find happiness to ourselves, and we're going to bring happiness to other people. Yeah. Thank you. So then let's do a meditation now. When you do meditation, you need to first bring bodhicitta also. It's not that, okay, I'm going to do meditation so I can be free of my afflictive emotion. That is, of course, you're doing that. But at the same time, you need to include all beings, meaning I'm doing this meditation by discovering my basic goodness, my Buddha nature. When I get enlightened, then I will be able to help all beings. That motivation is extremely important, so that there is no obstacle into your meditation. Otherwise, there are forces who may not like you getting stronger and realize, and that's the nature of the weakness of ego mind, have always that jealousy or competitiveness, and that also come into our meditation practice. So when you think of all being, naturally your mind is, expanding, opening up, and also the meditation will go the right way. Okay, that is very important. First, when you sit, for the benefit of all being, I'm doing this meditation, so that I can realize Buddha nature, then I can show to all being. That is really, really important when you do meditation. And then sit. So, if you have any questions, we can have some discussion here.
So you were telling us how important it is to be able to get that space, and what the getting to the point where you can generate that space. I understand it's a means to an end and not the end. So can you tell us more about it?
Getting into the space, you said?
Yeah. Well, we're discussing very briefly when I talked to you about getting to a point where you can generate space, where you're really kind of maybe taking a step back and look at life a little bit differently. And we were talking about the fact that just being able to be in that state where you have a little bit of distance, it's a means to an end and not really the end. So can you tell us more about it?
When you try to step back, that is only in post-meditation state. As far as meditation state is concerned, you're not trying to step back or create a space. You're supposed to be, the main focus is the breathing and being there, your awareness. Your awareness just being that. That's the main focus of the practice of meditation. Being in that awareness at that moment, as far as the space is concerned, space is there. It's not that you have to create space in the practice of meditation. Therefore, meditation is, you're not judging anything, you're not suppressing anything. When you try to, step back or move forward, that is in post-meditation state. In meditation practice, you're not doing anything. You see, you're not suppressing thoughts, no, you're bringing the thoughts. You're not trying to get back to, where you can, like if you have some problem in a post-meditation state, let's say in your daytime, then, you are trying to step back from some emotional, keep a distance from certain emotions that you can't handle. Let's put it that way. Some people you can handle, then you say, okay, I'm going to create some space. In meditation, you're learning to open up. In opening up, there is no fixation. There is no extreme. There is no fixation. You're just seeing the raw awareness. So in that raw awareness it's just fundamental. Raw awareness means fundamental. You are getting to that point step by step. And of course, the discipline here is just being in the breathing, and the mindfulness of any thought, including the thought to step back itself, is a concept at that moment. Even you want to get back, even you want to create a space, that is, if you hold on to that, that is an obstacle. Because your mind is now much advanced mind. When you deal in a dualistic way, there is much more gross duality. When you do meditation, it's more subtle level. There is still a duality, subtle level. So in that way, you just simply being there, and all thoughts can come, can naturally, they can open up, they can be free, because you're not judging them. So you see, no judgment. Just that's how you begin to learn to be friends with yourself. And then gradually you keep doing. At some point, then you begin to truly see your awareness. Then you gain trust in yourself. Until then, right now, people don't have any trust in themselves. Very little trust. So therefore, you're trying to find space where you can trust, where you can be safe. Your question comes from a safe place, where you can keep a distance and find a secure place where you can have sanity. And that is good. It's very important. And we need to find that kind of methods. How much we can handle situation depends on each person's mind. So some people can engage, some people can not so much engage, depends on the situation, person to person. However, in meditation, you're just learning to simply realize your awareness. And in that way, even stepping back is a thought, bringing the future, or in relationship to the past experience, something you want to be. You don't want to do that. Meditation, just being aware, that is more important.
Because majority of time is spent on the post-meditation,
Yes.
when we actually do
Yes.
things and interact with other people.
Yes.
So, what are we really aiming for? Because once you get to the point that you can take that step back and kind of start looking at things a little bit differently, that's really not the end, is it?
Always looking is not the end. Whenever you are still looking, that's not the end. Therefore, you're looking. If there is an end, there will be no looking. So that's why it took historical Buddha to achieve enlightenment 3 endless years. He was looking. After 3 endless years, then he got enlightened, no looking. So we can say it that way. But of course, here we are, but that's not to, there's a saying in Dharma, that's why people do Vajrayana practice. I ain't got the time to wait for 3 endless years. It's the American way and the Vajrayana way. We want in this lifetime quickly, so we can come to the point, no more searching, no more looking. And that's what, actually really I want that for all of you. Because of that, this time my teacher Chhoje Rinpoche coming, and normally, that one has to go step by step. And that is not to say that everyone is same. Every being is different. Some people can, instantly get very deep understanding. Some people you need to keep telling for so long, and it's hard-headed, hard to get through it. It all depends on the person. But I requested Dzogchen teaching. Usually I don't give Dzogchen teaching that easy. First I make sure they, whether they need to do Ngondro or not. And most people have to do Ngondro. Then step by step, it really makes sense. You see, if you look at your basic makeup of your mind, I always say the basic makeup of the mind, I relate with Buddha nature. You see, it's not something, I think each teacher used the different words, but I call it basic makeup of our mind. It's enlightened mind, the basic fundamental makeup of mind, basic goodness of enlightened nature. That is always free. Only in that free liberation mind there is happiness. Any mind which is not free, there is no happiness, there is no freedom. That's why we always want freedom, so we can be free. So that's the basic makeup of the mind. For that, free means, who is the obstacle to that free? Is the ego, is the afflictive emotion. So therefore, when you have compassion, you need to step out of that afflictive emotion and ego. Without that, you can't do it. Not possible to do it. Moment you keep doing it, once you have again really great sense of compassion, great openness, you're no judgment. What does that mean? That's what we're learning in meditation. Once you're less judgment, anything is possible to work with, because compassion is so creative that it is no limitation. Anything is possible because all emotion contains inherently basic goodness. All emotion. Therefore, because it contains nature, inherently basic goodness is emptiness, means absence of ego, absence of fixation. Therefore, any emotion is workable when you have some stability of the compassion. Nothing is unworkable. In fact, all emotions can be liberated. Higher the teaching gets, there is, on a lower level, there is more antidote for the teaching. Antidote for aggression is kindness. Antidote for ignorance is interdependent. Antidote for desire is, ugliness. For example, the monastic teaching. That's how each emotion is, it's like you put, like a sauce. Basically, it's not even chocolate sauce. It's like, you put like a sour sauce on it. So therefore it's always messy, our experiences. So always one emotion overriding the other emotion. So always judgment is not workable because you are always fabricating that mind. You are indoctrinating that mind. Therefore is some kind of dogma, some kind of idea, some kind of indoctrination. Never you experience naked awareness. So now, why is it possible to experience naked? Means free. Naked means no indoctrination. Mind which is stripped off of all indoctrination. Mind which is fundamental, mind which is primordial, mind which is so primordial that there is not even any nature of ego or duality. Therefore, it's absence of that duality, ego fundamentally. Therefore, it is good. Therefore, it's workable. All emotions' nature is that emptiness. Therefore, all mind. Anything is possible. Nothing is impossible to be free. In fact, they freed themselves. They freed themselves. The problem is we built up so much gross habit that we need a lot of antidote. So sometimes you need to forgive, let's say forgiveness. You need to hear from your whole family members. Okay, let's forgive. Let's forgive. From your sister, you hear, forgive that person. From your brother, you hear, forgive. Then you go to your grandparents, then your grandsons. Everyone says, so then you meet with the person you have problem. Okay, now my whole family say forgive, so now I should forgive. Look how much it takes us to liberate. In fact, we didn't even liberate. We just kind of, subdue that. So if you look, deep inside, still there is some level of ego, but that's a great thing. You work, you forgive, it's wonderful, you're moving forward. But it's not eradicated. Did you cut from the root of that? You didn't cut from the root of that. You have subdued that, and when you keep doing that a lot, then gradually you turn into kind, compassionate person, but still there is still an ego there. So, it didn't eradicate totally, but it's getting close to do that. So, in post-meditation state, trying to create a gap is you are being kind person, working with situation means you are actually, bringing some level of antidote. But you see, to begin with, emotion itself is a perception. So that perception itself is a phenomenal state which has got no reality. Now, why I'm saying no reality? Because ego has no reality. If ego is not a reality, then all this emotion, produced by that ego is also not reality, isn't it? Unless you say ego is so real, and if ego is so real, then it will always be there. Then its afflictive emotion is also real, because that is produced by the ego. Now, if you see fundamental ego itself is a wrong perception, so then you have to see that that is not a reality, as well as its production of afflictive emotion is not reality, it's not real, as well as the whole emotional experience it's created is also not real. So now it's so unreal, now you're trying to bring an antidote, putting something that is also not real. So what it says, nothing happened ultimately. You see, it's only on that confused level everything seems to happen. Actually, in reality, nothing has happened, and that's mean absence of all that stain, deceptive experience, have never ever taken place as far as Buddha nature is concerned. Then it's very confusing sometimes. We can clearly see that it has nothing happened because ego is a false experience. Then its birth of the ego is afflictive emotion. That's also false. And then the suffering is also false experience. One chain reaction, all a false experience. Now you're trying to bring an antidote to that, including even for the false experience of aggression. False experience of aggression, when you try to bring gentleness, that is also a false experience from a very, very deep level of mind. Because, one false experience emotion, you're trying to cover that. So now what is then real? What is real you find when you look deeper? Because if ego is not false, then you will be very happy having ego. Then afflictive emotion, you will be very comfortable at home. Because it is not real, so your mind is trying to reject that. Whenever you feel a lot of pride and ego, nobody likes you, neither you like yourself. And those aggression creates pain in you, you are trying to reject. That greed is trying to create pain and make you miserable, and poverty level, you are trying to reject that. Even you are going through that, but you are not happy. Means it's not fitting in your basic makeup. It's not who you are. So therefore, even a very bad person, the world will label a bad person. That bad person in his own mind is not happy. You think, we don't like, they're happy. Not that they're not happy. They're in fact going more suffering. Therefore, when a bodhisattva, he or she, sees a person with a tremendous neurotic mind, there's infinite compassion arises because he or she sees how confused and trapped they are in their own mind, the things which has got no reality. So, in that level, I think from the enlightened point of view, the world seems pretty crazy world. People are doing unnecessary thing all the time and producing the thing. Therefore, I think Shantideva said, Deva Dökyang, even once one happiness, one destroy one's own happiness, like when one destroy enemy. Shantideva said, every being wants happiness, but they all destroy their own happiness, like when we destroy a so-called enemy. So that's what is happening. It's crazy, actually. It's crazy. It's intelligence going haywire. Like suddenly there's a fuse in one wire, then the whole wire gets fused and it can catch fire, the whole building. Electric problem. Like that, once the intelligence goes wrong, then everything goes, chain reaction goes wrong. Therefore, it's called impure phenomena mind. Impure phenomena. It's not pure phenomena. Pure phenomena is enlightened nature. The impure phenomena one experiences ego, duality, afflictive emotion, and constant endless suffering by that. So therefore, all the disciplines of Hinayana, ethical practice is to, even both of them on the ultimate level, because you're trying to suppress. Even it's not perfect, but at least you're getting close by bringing good heart. So therefore, it says, whenever there's good heart, don't bring credit to good heart. So you don't pollute that good heart. That's the other reason. Dharma without credit. That is the reason. Because momentarily you try to bring credit in your compassionate mind, you're already polluting that mind. You're polluting your awareness. So you just do it. Doing it will, because you see, nature of the mind is clear light. Nature of mind is never empty, like nothing exists. That is never case. That's nihilistic approach. Nature of the mind is alive, in other words, always a rising thought. Therefore, Buddha said, when he got enlightened, I discovered profound, peaceful, beyond fabrication, clear light, unconditioned clear light, he said. He never said, I discovered an empty. There's no that. The first thing Buddha said, he discovered clear light. Means awareness, mind, which is free of absence of ego, absence of duality, therefore it's called clear light. If there is ego is fundamental, duality is fundamental, there will be no clear light, because then the production of that is ego, afflictive emotion, the whole chain, samsara. Samsara is based on that mind. So therefore, you see, in meditation practice, you continue learning to be a friend, if I use, and then finally once you become friend, then you begin to trust, and once you trust, then you can liberate. So that's what you do. In post-meditation state, then you need to engage in relative conventional bodhicitta. Yeah.
I have so many questions, I don't know where to start, but I thought I'd ask a simple one. You said that 15 minutes of meditation a day, probably not enough. Half an hour, 10 hours. What do you recommend? And Nundra and practice in general.
I think if you can do 1 hour will be very good. If you can break that up, you can do half an hour in the morning, half an hour in the evening. And then during lunchtime, you can, when you have time after like 5 minutes, those are very busy life. The best is to keep awareness all the time, mindfulness. And even at the beginning, just like we are not used to watching our mind, but then when you keep doing it, finally you come to understand yourself. That's extremely crucial, mindfulness. Without mindfulness, the opposite of mindfulness is frivolousness. So if you allow the mind to just go the old pattern way, never the time will come where you can grasp your mind. So mindfulness becomes extremely important, like time to time, again and again. So maybe half an hour in the morning, half an hour in the evening, and like that. Yeah. And then sometimes you can do, many places. Sometimes you go to watch a movie, and then you see all the people how they're doing. And then you try to really see. One thing important, you need to discover this, first of all, formation of Dharma. Formation of Dharma is fundamentally is called Jingöpö Neluk in Tibetan. Jingöpö Neluk. Dharma is based on reality. Dharma is never based on a dogma. So you need to always look, how is this reality as far as, when you see people moving, that also shows the expression of liberation. When you see people talking, There's also the way the change is happening, nothing gets stuck. It's also showing the absence of any fixation, is emptiness. You have to study phenomena, how phenomena is manifesting, sight, sound, smell, taste, the whole movement. You've got to reflect that sometime. I think can be very beneficial. Then you see how the Dharma, Buddha Dharma is what it's trying to express in relationship directly to your experience of reality.
Is all that expression, all that movement, the energy of life, is that mind?
Yes. Yes. Beside mind, who's there to say?
If I may.
Please.
I wanted to ask something about anxiety and fear. I really am not sure how to ask this. So, well, I think like many people, I find that anxiety is a thread. It runs through everything that I do, that I experience. There's always this feeling of fear, really, running through everything. Also, I had a couple of experiences in my life when after a long layoff, I started doing Nundro again about 5 years ago. And my guru showed me liberation. I mean, I don't know how to say it, but I think that's what happened. I was never so frightened in my entire life. I was scared to death. And
scared to death for what?
Of this liberation. My ego, or whatever. I panicked completely. The other thing that happened at that 2 times was that the watcher that we're depending on for mindfulness and for so many things, because what else do we have to work with? The watcher betrayed me completely. The watcher said, "No, your ego, that's good. Reject it. You don't need this liberation. Let it go, kill it." So now I'm feeling very, I feel a certain distrust of my own mind, that I've never even heard of this, People always say, well, I dissolved into this light, or whatever you want to call it. My ego went away. Well, mine didn't, because of this fear and distrust. So I'm not even sure what the question is, but I was just wondering if you could comment on that.
One has to, that's what I'm trying to say. You have to see, I think, in order to understand Dharma, people really have to understand Four Noble Truths really, really well. That's the foundation of Buddhism. If you have a clear understanding of Four Noble Truths, then this kind of thing will not really happen. And Four Noble Truths is so deep because you can't have distrust if you understand about, first of all, the true conventional reality, which is the suffering and the cause of suffering, which is conventional reality. So any clear mind, logical mind, will not disagree with that reality of cause and effect. So therefore it's called 2 kinds of ignorance. One ignorance is to cause and effect, and one ignorance of not knowing the reality. Those are the 2 which can bring confusion into our mind. Not distrust, but confusion. You can distrust your ego, but you can never distrust cause and effect if you have a very unbiased mind. Unless you are so brainwashed to say that evolution never exists. In fact, now even Catholic Church, even the new Pope, he also accepts evolution does exist finally. Recently, For all those years, Galileo was labeled heretic for saying evolution exists. And now the Pope saying evolution is true, is a fact. So, when you use unbiased mind, when you truly see how the nature is, you have to accept that. You see, it doesn't. Then if you say how cause and effect, then it's like saying, oh, stone is round, why stone is round? Of course, we can say due to wind factor, element factor, but then that's pretty much it. It stops at some point. Once you see how the conventional world function is based on cause and effect, clear, very clear, there's no doubt about it. One may doubt whether God created that or not. If someone who believes in God, if you really ask that person, do you really know that God created? That person may not be sure 100%. Even Archbishop of Canterbury recently said that he personally thinks God doesn't exist. Archbishop of Canterbury. But he said, I have to go with the general terms with the rest of the faith that, I have to say that, good things come out of God. But personally, he really asks questions when things are so typical in this world, why does God doesn't come and changes? So he really, from every aspect, he tried to think, he thinks that God isn't. This is Archbishop of Canterbury, which is a big church in England. So from the Buddhist point of view, the conventional reality comes from cause and effect, which is the first two noble truths, suffering and the cause of suffering. Then the third noble truth, cessation. In Hinayana, there is only selflessness. They never talks of the word empty. The word empty doesn't exist in the Hinayana teaching because it's too scary. It sounds nihilism. But it's not, Mahayana is not saying everything is nihilistic. In fact, Mahayana is saying emptiness, one has to bring some word to communicate, to understand. And it may not be the perfect word. In fact, the perfect word is clear light. But if I say clear light, one can get fixated to that. But when we say empty, it means something is not there. You see, we think like that. But it never means something is not there. It simply means the absence of fixation, which has never happened in the nature of reality. Is never such thing exists. So therefore, absence of ego, absence of aggression, absence of fundamental, some inherent quality, it doesn't exist. Fundamental, that sense of I, the sense of emotion as something real, never. That's what it meant, absence of. It doesn't mean that there's no thoughts, there's no mind. So then, when you see that nature of emptiness, you have to agree, it is true. Dependent origination, any clear mind thinking person has to agree on that. And not only that, you come to realize that really Buddhism never converted any being. Buddhism is based on what's reality. There's no doctrination in Buddhism. Then you see cause and effect, whether Buddha came or not, whether Buddha gave the teaching of cause and effect or not, it is always a reality. Nature of emptiness, whether Buddha came or not, whether he gave teaching or not, whether we are realized or not, even we are confused right now, we can see that there is no inherent such thing as any particular emotion is devoid of inherent existence. So then one can further see that one can achieve that level, one can break that fixation through one's realization. And then one can logically see that, and one can meditate, and one can experience that. And we've seen hundreds of thousands of people in the past got realized, and hundreds of thousands will get realized in the future. Though hundreds of thousands of people practicing now, those will gain liberation. Liberation then, it makes sense. Liberation from fixation, liberation from all those false experiences of neurosis. It's possible. Then we don't have to dream about some kind of, some salvation, something so outside. While you still live with the ego and afflictive emotion and fixation, and then hoping someday you'll be lifted out of this world, like beam me up, Scotty. That is not possible. You see, what is possible, you can do it. But someone else can't do it for you. Therefore, Buddha said, I've shown you the path of liberation. Now it's up to you. And you can see that it's possible within you if you do it, if you dedicate. So therefore, there's no deception. Now, still, if what's the obstacle? Laziness for us. Distraction. Laziness, distraction. Therefore, we need the Sangha support. We need support, teachers' guidance, Sangha support, and to be very strong in our compassionate mind. Therefore, we need a vow to remind, I can't do this. I can't be egoistic. I can't be bad to other people because I took a vow. That is very powerful. It reminds you that when you took a vow, there is some level of responsibility. Because all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas are witness to that. And we need that. If people make agreement in this world, and when you break the contract, then you have to go to the court. Here you may not necessarily go to a court like that, but you will be in your own karmic court when you break that up. So like that, you see, it's not that you can't trust your mind. You can trust, no question of that. I 100% trust in you that you can trust yourself. You just have to see that way. Only sometimes there are times we get swept away from the path of Dharma due to some bad karma of the past, this situation, that situation. And in your case, your teacher previously was Trungpa Rinpoche, and Rinpoche passed away, so there wasn't a support for you. You see, I think when people lose their teacher, then people lose track sometimes. And the Sangha support is important, but everyone is different. Some really needs the guidance of their teacher. There's an emotional link. Some function well within a Sangha. Some, each person is different. So I think Bajramochi put the seed of enlightenment into you. Therefore, today you're here listening to the Dharma. And therefore, you can trust yourself. No question of that. You're welcome. Okay, let's do the World Peace Prayer now. Also, when may I request all of you, please pray that every people in this world have compassion grow in their hearts, especially the leaders. And also, so many crazy people are there. They may have some compassion and love to all beings and respect for life. Okay? So when you do this prayer, do it genuinely from your heart. In the world in general and in this nation, may not even the names, disease, famine, war, and suffering be heard. May virtuous qualities and merit and prosperity greatly increase. And may continuous good fortune and sublime well-being perfectly rise. In the world in general and in this nation, may not even the names, disease, famine, war, and suffering be heard. May virtuous qualities and merit and prosperity greatly increase. And may continuous good fortune and sublime well-being perfectly rise. In the world in general and in this nation, may not even the names disease, famine, war, and suffering be heard. May virtuous qualities and merit and prosperity greatly increase. And may continuous good fortune and sublime well-being perfectly rise. And at the end, by this merit, omniscient, thank you very much. Thank you. Good night. Thank you.
Thank you, Rinpoche.
Thank you.
Just a few announcements. So Rinpoche will be teaching tomorrow night at 7 p.m. see you all here tomorrow and invite some people in your life to come and hear it as well. We are December 4th. 5th, sorry. Thank you. December 29th, what did I say? That's my next lesson coming through. December 29th and January 4th. The first 2 days are empowerments, and these empowerments literally are once in a lifetime type empowerments. And then on December 31st, Chhoje Rinpoche is leading a 7-night prayer food offering ceremony. And then that evening we'll be doing a New Year's Eve celebration. So after 5 p.m., we'll flow right from the soak into a New Year's celebration, and it'll be a talent show. So we'll have some drinks, we'll have some food, and a talent show. So everybody has a talent, and it's really nice to make an offering. Really, both of the Rinpoches love to see people sing, dance, poetry, really anything, playing a musical instrument. So that'll be a really fun sangha event that evening. And then on January 1st and 2nd is the Dzogchen teaching days, and that's what Rinpoche said. If you're going to come to any 2 days out of the whole retreat, those are the days to come. But hopefully you can come for all of it. January 3rd is a long life empowerment, and January 4th is a refuge and bodhisattva vow ceremony, as well as a purification and bodhisattva blessing ceremony. So we have all this information in the back. If you have any questions, please ask us. And as far as registration, so we have close to 150 people that have registered for the event, so it's going to get pretty busy here. So we're asking that anybody that can come, we will do a registration in the morning, as well as the evening. So if you're coming for the whole retreat, on December 28th from 5:30 until 6:30 p.m., we'll be open here for registration. You'll be coming in, getting your texts, signing your name, checking in. And then again on the 29th from 8:30 a.m. until 9:30 a.m. We're trying to avoid a huge rush at 10 o'clock when we're trying to get everything going and there's 100 people waiting to come in the door. So if you can come during one of those registration times, we'd really appreciate it. One offering possibility, if you want to, is Chhoje Rinpoche loves orchids. And so we're going to be bringing a lot of flowers into the center here, including orchids. If anybody wants to make an offering of 1 or 2 orchids, please bring them in. We'd love to know how many we have so we know how many more we need to buy. So if you can bring it in, if you're coming this weekend, please feel free to bring it. And yeah, that would be great.
If you have any statues, tankas personally, you can bring that. We're going to do blessing ceremony. So, just want to let you know, on the full moon, on the Sunday, which is what day?
The 31st.
31st. No, January.
Sorry, January 4th.
4th, January 4th. On that day, we're doing special ceremony for all the tankas, and the tankas and statue. It needs to be empowered. It needs to be blessed. It needs to be energized, so that then when you do practice, it enhances your practice and benefits tremendously for you, even including making your personal prayers and meditation. So we will be doing that. So if you have tankas, paintings, you can bring it. It'll be blessed. Then you can take to your home, and it'll be wonderful. So just want to let you know that. Yeah. And then other thing is, I want to tell about, explain a little bit about why I requested Dzogchen teaching. Traditionally, the teaching of Dzogchen is the highest meditation teaching, so one doesn't really just give it like that. The reason I requested seeing the time and seeing, all of you come genuinely with your heart to realize Dharma, to gain happiness, to gain freedom. And I have Rinpoche come this time. He's 88 years old. And he cannot come back again. I hope he can come. But he told me this is the last time he's coming. So I thought from one of the greatest meditation master that I don't want you all to deprive, or whether you're ready or not, I just took the risk to give, so you can have the highest of the teaching. And that's one is to maintain a samaya. That once we receive a teaching, first of all, we have to take we took bodhicitta vow to be kind to all beings, period. You see, period. We have to be kind to all beings, particularly to our Dharma brothers, sisters. That there is a commitment, and that commitment is being kind to yourself and to kind to others. That's fundamental. So therefore, we need to keep that in mind. And then this teaching, if you can apply into your life, is the ultimate teaching from one of the greatest Dzogchen masters today living on this earth. As I told you, even His Holiness Dalai Lama received Dzogchen teaching from Chhoje Rinpoche. So you all are very, very fortunate, actually, that he's coming here. I think it's the fortune of the Denver people here, coming next door to you. So, and so I requested, and Rinpoche, usually he is very traditional. He doesn't give. He was invited to come to Europe. He never goes. He just like he would give the teaching someone who is really, really serious. Normally he never gives. But I've been with him, I've been like his son since I was 7, 8 years old. I've been with him. So he very kindly didn't say no to my request. And so I feel really very fortunate. We all have this precious human rebirth. And when you can get the highest of precious teaching, then you can have really something tremendous blessing in your life. That's all I want to say. Yeah. Yes?
Did you say that we needed to attend that from the beginning?
Yes, Dzogchen teaching is from the mountain retreat teaching. You should come for 2 days, or better not to come. You shouldn't miss. It's because you got to receive the complete version, the transmission and the teaching. Just receiving half, then not half, that wouldn't work. So you need the whole both days of teaching for that. Yeah.
And then one last announcement is that Rinpoche had asked that we do some water bottles for the center with the 8 noble auspicious symbols on the water bottles, so it makes a perfect little holiday gift. And so it's a free gift for you with a $30 donation. So they're out the door to the left as you walk out. So if you're looking for a last-minute Christmas gift.
That's Jim's idea.
That was my idea. Rinpoche wanted the 8 noble
Thank you,
auspicious symbols.
but very kind, Thank you, Jim.
Yeah. So we also have membership available for the center, so for those that haven't heard. So membership is our #1 source of income, and we're currently at about 50% of our operating expenses is what we pay every month. So every member is wonderful. So thank you all for coming, and thank you, Rinpoche.